You're listening to the Red Man Podcast.
Welcome back to another edition of the Red Man Podcast. I'm Chris Mosley, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Kolby Cron. Kolby, how are you today?
I'm well, Chris. How are you doing on this fine morning?
I am doing great. It's finally cooling off a little bit more. We're just right on off the heels of going to Pest World, which was a fun experience. I'd recommend that to anyone in the industry that if you're able to do it, it's certainly, I think it's worth the money and the time to go out there. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a time commitment and a financial, I don't want to say burden, but there are financial things at stake, sending people to Pest World and attending, taking that time off from productive work. But I think the knowledge and the people you get to meet,
the networking
is vastly beneficial in your future endeavors. And I highly recommend anybody in the industry maybe go on occasion, not necessarily every year, but I think it's a great event. It's almost overwhelming if you've never been before. There's so much to see, so much to experience, so much to do. It really is a fun event.
And let's face it, because you just said it, some years are better than others. It depends a lot on where I think it's at. This year it was in Orlando, which obviously is a big vacation destination for people all over the country. So this was a fun year to do it for sure. So, all right, so we'll get into our insect profile. This week is going to be on the Atlas Moth. Actually, this whole episode is about moths because after that, our control corner segment is on the Indian meal moth, which is that's a frequent thing that we deal with in pantries. And I've even seen them in grocery stores. And it doesn't matter if it's commercial, residential, you run into Indian meal moths all the time. And then at the end, we're going to do something a little bit different, something I haven't done before. I want to talk about something related to moths that's a little paranormal, but it's at the very end. So I purposely kept you in the dark on this so you would not know what we were going to talk about
up for this.
But if you think hard about it, it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. But anyway, let's jump into our insect profile on the Atlas Moth. This is a really interesting insect to me. I don't know if you've seen a picture of these things, but they're really, really cool. It was first described by Carl Linnaeus back in 1758. And it is its real claim to fame is that it is one of the largest moths in the world by wingspan and wing surface area. So that wingspan can get up to 10 to 12 inches. And there have even been some reports of this thing getting a wingspan of 14 inches. Can you imagine? I mean, that's bigger than your foot.
Yeah, it's like a little kite.
It's massive. So rusty red to brown wings, and it's got intricate white and black and pinkish markings. There's some distinct triangular, transparent, I guess what you'd call, they kind of look like windows on the wings. But the most distinguishing thing about this moth is the wingtips. The wingtips, they kind of resemble the head of a snake, like a venomous snake, which obviously the way that they can use that is to deter some of its natural predators. So the body, it's relatively small compared to the massive wings that we just talked about, and it's covered in these dense reddish hairs. Now, their native range, it's a tropical insect, and it's also found in subtropical forests of Southeast Asia, including India, China, Malaysia, and Indonesia. And it prefers warm, humid lowland forests and shrublands. So here's the really cool thing. It was not that long ago, just about 3 years ago, one of these things popped up in Seattle, Washington. Have you heard this?
No, I have not.
Well, it did. It made headlines everywhere for anybody that kind of follows entomology, and I do have a little bit of a news clip of when this happened.
We're learning more about the world's largest known moth that was photographed in Bellevue in July. We showed this to you earlier this week, and experts say it's an Atlas moth. It has a wingspan of up to 10 inches. Atlas moths are usually found in the tropics, and it is believed that this is the first confirmed discovery of the insect in all of the U.S. Today, we spoke to an entomologist who first reported the moth sighting to the Washington Department of Agriculture. He's a professor at the University of Washington, and he says people often send him photos of insects and bugs, hoping that he can help identify them.
No, as soon as when someone says, "Hey, I got a photo," I usually open it pretty quickly, and I'm glad I did in this case, because as soon as I saw it, this was early July, I knew what it was because I teach about this class. I responded right away to the homeowner and said, "Hey, can you catch it?"
The homeowner wasn't able to catch the moth, but they did take this photo that has gone viral. The Atlas moth is federally quarantined as a pest, and that means that it's illegal to have or sell one without a special permit. Now, the Atlas moth doesn't pose any sort of threat to the public, but scientists do worry about how it could impact farmers' crops if they were to become established here in the Pacific Northwest.
They are known to feed on things like apples. And we are the apple state. So you can see the alarm from Washington State, the State Department of Agriculture, like in the rare chance it actually did get established, and particularly if it got established on the eastern side, it could be a devastating pest in the larval form.
If you think you've spotted an Atlas moth, you are asked to take a photo and send it to the Department of Agriculture so it can be properly identified.
Is it just me or that guy? He kind of laughed like Mickey Mouse a little bit when he was.
I did it.
When he was talking.
Yeah.
So that clip was from
strange.
Fox 13 out of Seattle, by the way. And so how in the world did that happen? I mean, we have, and I haven't heard, because I did look, I haven't seen or heard of any sightings since. But the picture was very clear. It's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, port cities across our country, that's your key entry point for any invasive species of insects. So Seattle's obviously a pretty big port or somewhere near there. And
that was such a good explanation. I think it deserves.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, so it
Know-It-All.
wouldn't have came over in its adult form. It would have came over as in its larval stage and some sort of goods or product being transferred and got loose.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. I don't know why that did not occur to me that is indeed a port city. But anyway, it's still pretty cool because it's not something you would expect to find in the United States.
I think it's really interesting learning about different insects and how they've adapted over time. There's quite a few examples out there. Maybe this is a future episode idea, but looking at insects that have developed in their morphology something to deter predators. I think there's some beetles and some hemipterans out there that are like, they have a skeleton pattern on their back, scary colors, bright colors,
I've seen
things that resemble their natural predators, their predators. So really cool to see, because Chris is not joking at all. If you look at the tips of the wings, it literally looks just like a snake's head from the side, almost like a cobra.
It does. And that's what a lot of people say, a cobra. They think it resembles a cobra.
Yeah, that's super duper neat.
So it's an interesting insect. There's a little bit more here about the biology and life cycle. It lays its eggs on plants, often on leaves. Of course, it becomes a caterpillar in its larva state. It's pale green in that state with these little knob-like structures all over its body and a waxy coating. Feeds on all kinds of host plants, which is the issue with it, which is why it would be a problem if it became widespread in the United States. The cocoon, it's large, silken, and tough, sometimes used in silk production. The adult moth, it does not feed. Adults lack fully developed mouth parts, so this thing only lives about 1 to 2 weeks, relying on the fat reserves that it built up during that larval stage when that's all it's doing during that point is eating. So we talked a minute ago about the cobra-like wing tips for mimicry. The large wing extensions on the Atlas moth are shaped and patterned to resemble the head and profile of, as you said, it looks like a cobra. And so when a predator approaches, it flutters the wings in a way that creates the illusion of a snake's head and neck movements, which sort of enhances that deception for whatever's coming after it. It kind of makes them think twice about it. And then, of course, its large size, I think, is a deterrence for some of its predators out there. And it's also a nocturnal insect, and adults primarily are most active at night. So local populations may be declining due to deforestation and habitat loss, but sometimes this insect is reared commercially for silk and as an exhibit in butterfly houses. you mentioned a butterfly house down in New Orleans now, right?
Yeah, they have a really cool. I don't think they have any of those in there, but
I wonder if they do. Are you sure?
not in the enclosure where you can walk in and experience them. That's the insectarium at the Audubon has in New Orleans. They have a really cool room where you can walk in and has an abundance of various plants and exotic plants from around the world, and they have all these different butterflies just flying around there. They'll land on your finger, land on your head. Really neat. They may have an example of one of these in a different enclosure separate, but I don't believe those are flying around. I think you would have noticed one the size of your face landing on you.
Yeah, it would be hard to miss these things. But anyway, that's enough about the Atlas moth. I think as I said, this whole episode is going to be about moths today. And you're going to get into something that every pest control operator out there has probably encountered at some point, the Indian mill moth.
Yep. So the Indian mill moth, I mean, moths in general share a lot of different tendencies. So one of which that Chris mentioned about the Atlas moth is that the adult form does not feed. So when you think of an Indian mill moth and the damage they can cause in your pantry, being a pantry pest, it's not the adult that's doing that, it's that larval stage. So just a few quick facts about the Indian mill moth. They're found on every single continent except Antarctica. So wherever you're listening from around the world, you have these in your environment. They can impact you, and if you're a pest control professional, you need to know how to identify and control them. They take their direction from the moon, which is pretty interesting. I wouldn't have thought about that with Indian mill moths.
I didn't know that. What do you mean they take their direction from? You don't know how it works? You just know
the lighting,
Really?
light from the rays that the moon puts off. That's how they kind of use it for directional signaling at night. I mean, most moths fly at night, so they're using that light source kind of as a cardinal direction.
Yeah. Them being nocturnal, that makes sense.
But this adult moth, how you'll identify it, it's about 8 to 10 millimeters long, has about 16 to 20 millimeter wingspan. But the forewings are bicolored. The front half is kind of pale grayish tan, and the back half is reddish brown with a coppery sheen. Once you've seen one, you kind of know what they look like. They're very distinct in how they appear.
That copper color definitely stands out.
Absolutely. But when you're looking for an infestation from these Indian mill moths, they typically occur in kitchens, in areas where grain and different products are stored. This is a very big commercial commodity pest in warehouses and stuff across the country. They are monitored and treated for very, very regularly. But we'll focus primarily on in-home infestations and what that kind of looks like. To the untrained eye, they can sometimes even appear to be like a minor spider infestation because of the webbing that they put off, silk threads. This can be found in the food that they're infesting, but also on the walls, on your baseboards, up towards your crown molding. They can really start making a mess depending on how big the infestation gets. But you'll typically see those moths flying around the pantry, kitchen, food storage areas, and they like to infest grains like flour, rice, cornmeal, oats, nuts, dried fruit, spices, seeds, chocolate, really any organic food material they could particularly be in. So they can be quite difficult to control, especially if left unchecked for a period of time. And as a pest professional, the primary way that I've always kind of interacted with them is first and foremost, you have to get rid of their food source. So you have to find where they've infested. So this will typically include cleaning out a pantry, going through every item one thing at a time. Hopefully, if it's not infested, you can save it and reuse it. But a lot of times, a lot of this product has to be thrown away, and homeowners aren't too keen on doing that.
No. And that's the fastest way to get rid of any kind of stored product pest. Just figure out what they're in and remove it out of the house. And it seems like such a simple thing, but most customers or most people that aren't educated on it, they just don't take the time to search and find the infested food.
That's right. So one of the biggest practices that we implement here at Red when you're dealing with this pantry pest or any other is to compartmentalize your issue. So we always recommend homeowners go out and get the little plastic Tupperware containers that they can store their pasta in. They can store their flour, their sugar, all these different items. Keep it separate, because then if you're not able to properly identify where the infestation is coming from, you can then kind of monitor on an item-by-item basis. And it's good for prolonging the life of your products as well. So it serves a dual role. But once you've done that, found the infested product and remove it, you obviously want to get rid of the adults because they're the ones that are reproducing. They can't eat, but they're going to reproduce and create new larvae that will reinfest things that are not properly sealed. So the number one thing that we utilize for that are pheromone traps, as well as light. Moths go on pheromone. They're trying to find pheromone from their mates, so they can reproduce. And you want to hang these pheromone traps. They're like little sticky glue traps that have a pheromone that you place on them. And you want to hang them about head height. That's a common mistake that people make out there. Right. They want to hang them really high because they see some of the webbing up there. They want to sit them down on the ground. For the most optimum effect, you want them about head height. That's where they typically fly at.
That's a very good point because I have seen that mistake made many times.
Yep. So you put them head height, you place a couple of them out in that general area that's affected, and you come back and monitor them. You see, okay, well, if this one's got a lot on it, the other one does not, you can kind of relocate them to kind of get near the source. But typically within a couple weeks of having those pheromone traps out, you're going to get rid of that adult population and thus end the life cycle. Obviously, cleaning, sanitation, as with any pest issue, is a big concern. So making sure you clean up any crumbs or debris that they could also reinfest that's not in your sealed containers is important. But going back to what I said before, the biggest thing is compartmentalization and prevention. Seal up your products. Make sure you inspect new products you're buying because that's typically where they come from. Most people don't realize. They think they come in from outside their home. They don't. They're typically already infested in their cereals and their dog treats, dog food, things like that when they buy them from the store. So it's very important you do a good quality inspection of what you're bringing into your home and making sure it's not infested. And if it is, it needs to be thrown out. Seek a refund with your grocer if at all possible and get your money back. Seek a replacement because they will do that. And then just good monitoring by a pest professional on a regular basis to make sure it doesn't come back.
I don't know if you mentioned it, you may have, but I also see it a lot in pet food. Did you mention that?
I did. I said dog treats.
Because I see them a lot in store, not just in residences, but like in commercial settings. You'll see them in the pet food stuff all the time.
Yep.
So anyway, it's definitely something that, like I said in the beginning, every pest control person listening to this, if they've done this for any length of time, they've ran into this problem at some point. So good information about the Indian meal moth. So before we do our Tech Talk segment, I told you I was going to bring up something paranormal related to moths. Did you ever guess?
Mothman.
There you go. Good. I mean, what all else? What else could it be?
It's about the only one I could think of.
What do you know about Mothman?
Not a whole lot. I know it's in folklore out there, various different stories. I know big red beaming eyes.
Did you ever see the movie? There was a 2002 movie starring Richard Gere called The Mothman Prophecies.
I did not. My exposure to Mothman came through the form of a cryptid card game called MetaZoo. Mothman was kind of like the Charizard of the Pokemon world, but for MetaZoo. So he was the one everybody wanted. But that's really all I know about him.
Well, it was the first reported sighting of Mothman was November 1966 near Point Pleasant, West Virginia. People describe it as this tall humanoid figure with glowing red eyes and large wings like the Atlas Moth. But this wingspan's like 8 to 15 feet, according to people that have supposedly spotted it. They say that it's been seen flying or hovering, sometimes even chasing cars down the road. But it's usually pretty quiet. And the most associated event with the Mothman, do you know about this?
I do not.
This is a pretty famous thing. The Silver Bridge collapse in Point Pleasant. It happened in December 1967. Now, the interesting thing about this is people swear that leading up to this bridge collapse, that the Mothman sightings, some of it predicted or foreshadowed this tragedy, that even things that I want to say in the Mothman Prophecies movie, and it's tough sometimes when you're watching a movie to separate fact from fiction, what was embellished and what wasn't. But it seems like I distinctly remember in the movie the Mothman actually telling people the bridge was going to collapse. I don't know if that actually happened or not. But
I need to watch that, I guess.
You should. It's an interesting movie, and every year in Point Pleasant, they hold the Mothman Festival. They still talk about it, and it attracts all these cryptid enthusiasts worldwide. So I thought that was interesting. Since we were talking about moths, that we throw a little bit in there about the Mothman creature. I don't know that I don't know if I believe that one or not.
You never know.
If you look at some of the drawings of this thing, it's a pretty wild looking. Which you said you saw it on a card or something.
Yeah.
Some kind of card game. But all right, well, with that, we're going to move into our Tech Talk segment. But this week, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to call one of our managers. This is one of our managers. I would say he's kind of got an interesting personality. I would say about him. We're going to call Eli Corley. He manages our Hattiesburg, Mississippi branch. He's been in the pest control industry for quite a while. He's worked for several different companies.
And he's done pretty much everything. He's been a technician, salesman, termite, all the way across the board. So he's got a lot of good experience, a lot of good knowledge.
He has. He's had a lot of success over the years. He's a real likable guy, and hopefully will be an interesting person for us to talk to. So let's see if we can get Eli on the phone real quick.
Hey, Chris.
Hello, Eli Corley. It's Chris Mosley. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm joined with Mr. Kolby Cron sitting next to me. And if you know if the two of us are calling you, then we must be doing our podcast.
Oh, man.
it's
I
not
was wondering when
always,
y'all were to call me.
That's not always the case, but today it is. We're calling you together because you're on our Red Man podcast. What are you doing, Eli?
Well, I'm at the office and just checking Best Pack. And
You're just making up stuff. Okay. Eli, tell me, how long have you been at Red Pest Solutions?
oh, man. April makes 3 years.
3 years. That's long. Okay. I guess that's about right. And how long have you been in the pest control industry?
Probably, I'd say 12 or 13.
All right. That's a long time. Majority of that time, I know you were a technician. However, as of late, you've been a branch manager for us. I know you were a manager for a previous pest control company. You're the first manager that we've actually called when we're doing our Tech Talk segment. So how did that happen? Have you always had aspirations to be a manager in pest control, or did someone come to you about it? Is that what you wanted to do? How did that happen?
Well, I never thought I'd be in pest control. And
I don't think any of
happened.
us did. Yeah.
And so after just working hard and growing routes and having a good attitude, a manager at my previous company asked me to be in the LDP program.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through that program, obtained my permit, and became a manager.
The reason I ask that question, I have this belief, I tell people this all the time. I think the best managers are the ones that, and this isn't a knock on someone that aspires to be a manager, don't misunderstand me, but I always thought the best managers are the ones where they kind of have to be pushed into the role. Hey, we want you to be a manager. Have you ever thought about being a manager? That sort of thing, instead of the guy that's asking for it, wanting it. I think those people make the best managers. They stay grounded and they tend to listen to their people more. And that's probably why you were picked.
Yeah. Now here at Red, whenever I came on board here 3 years ago, that was kind of the goal, was to become branch manager for Hattiesburg.
Right.
And we made that goal happen.
That's right. Well, Eli, I do have a question for you. Since you are our first branch manager that we've kind of interviewed and called as part of the podcast, outside of having a good personality, because I do think that's a key attribute for somebody in a leadership role, you got to stay positive. What are the 3 key things in your world in Hattiesburg that you think has lended to your success? Because obviously Hattiesburg's been absolutely on fire here as of recent. What are the 3 things that you're doing on a regular basis that you think really keys into that?
Well, first of all, it's nothing I'm doing really. It's we have a good team here in Hattiesburg. Starting with Nathan as our sales business development guy, we have great technicians, and we just provide good service, and it just grows. I mean, it's organic.
So you don't think you have anything to do with it?
Yeah.
I mean, I do have a.
He said he didn't have anything to do with it. So
I mean, I do have some. I mean, I don't know.
we're just giving you a hard time, Eli.
So you're
I know
lucky,
you
is
are.
what you're saying.
Do what?
Luck is a very good attribute. There's a saying out there: you got to be lucky than skillful any day of the week, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I am. We have a good team here in Hattiesburg, and I mean, it's just not. You've got somebody that's out there developing business, and if you don't have anybody to do the work, then it's just, what's the point in selling it?
So I'll wrap that up and put a pretty bow on it for you. creating and developing and maintaining a good, healthy work relationship with your team. They're happy. They're out working. They're out producing, doing the things that need to be done. That you got to manage those personalities. How do you handle it whenever somebody's having a bad day? How do you encourage them?
Well, I smile at them and take them to lunch, and pat them on the back and tell them to keep their head up and let them know that we see all the good stuff they're doing and appreciate them.
That's nice. You take them to lunch. I need to come in here and act like I'm having a bad day more often. I like that. Hey, what is something? I just thought of this. What is something that people would be surprised to know about Eli Corley? Give us a deep, dark secret that's not going to put you in prison.
Well, let's see.
That laugh seemed to suggest that there is something that if he disclosed may put him in prison. But anything.
Well, there's not a deep, dark secret. And you guys know that I did hit an eagle from 80 yards out.
That's very
on the
much
second time I've ever played golf.
That is an accomplishment, Eli, that I don't think there's very many people out there in this world that can say they've done that. That's a pretty remarkable feat. Now, I think that does kind of go back to the luck part. So it seems like you're a pretty lucky guy.
Yeah, he does seem to have a little bit of luck on his side.
I do. I do have a stroke of luck.
Hey, you had a guy shoot at you, or somebody showed up at your house not long ago in the middle of the night. Speaking of luck,
that was back in April.
Yeah, you were super lucky that night. What happened that night? Some guy showed up asking for help and then pulled a gun or something?
Yeah, so he was lost. I walked him back out to his car. Somebody was chasing him.
He said someone was chasing him?
Yeah, he said somebody had been chasing him. And my little brother and nephews came walking up, and the guy pulled a 9mm out and started shooting.
My God,
that's crazy.
And I didn't know what I was scared to death.
Well, I would have been scared too, but again, there's definitely something to this luck thing with Eli. I haven't really thought of that until we've kind of uncovered it doing this interview on the podcast. Well, Eli, we don't want to take a lot of your time. We know you are a super busy man. Do you have any parting words you would like to say before we let you go?
Sleep tight and don't let the bugs bite.
That's a good one to live by.
Yeah. All right. Well, Eli, find something to do and give us a call if you need us.
Thanks, Eli.
Appreciate you. So that was Eli Corley. Again, after talking, I thought he was like really good at his job, but maybe he's just lucky.
Right place at the right time with the right people under the right circumstances.
That's what it sounds like. It was some of his own words there. But
in all reality, I mean, putting people on the spot, it's not very easy to come up with things under that type of pressure. I know Chris especially, but me and Chris calling can be somewhat intimidating to these guys. Sometimes it's not always a pleasant conversation we have to call them, so it does put them on edge. But I'll say in place of Mr. Eli, Eli's biggest strength is, like he says, positivity, how he communicates with his people, and he just fosters a good environment where people can trust him, where people can come in, express their concerns, but at the end of the day, they go to work and they focus on hitting their goals each and every day and do it the most effective and professional way possible. And sometimes it makes you look lucky. So
right. Well, he does a good job. That's all I know. So I guess this is a good place to end this episode. I will, as we've done on the past few episodes, would like to remind people, if you're a pest control operator in the state of Mississippi, if you're not already, you should be a member of the Mississippi Pest Control Association. There are a lot of benefits to that, aside from the networking side of things and the voice that you have with the state and even federal levels of our industry. It's a very good organization to be a part of. And if you need any information on that, or if you'd like to comment on the podcast, make suggestions about anything really, you can email us at the redmanpodcast@redpest.com.
And furthermore, just one thing I'd like to add, obviously we talked about getting finished with Pest World. It's also not a bad idea to be a part of the National Pest Management Association. They're the ones who facilitate some of these bigger nationwide events. So look into that. They provide a lot of really good training and resources for development.
Sounds good. So I guess with that, we will end this episode. We'll see you next time on the Red Man Podcast.
Call the Red Man. Call the Red Man.